us to pass the details to Striker to arrange.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday afternoon at 12:30 on the east coast of Australia, which means we are live here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube with the People to People Employment Market Update. My name's Mark Smith. I'm Group Managing Director of People to People here in Australia and Frog Recruitment in New Zealand. Now, I'm here in the Perth office of People to People. I've been here for 3 weeks now with the lockdown and everything that happened. So the team are behind me and they're busily recruiting right now. So if you hear some noise in the background, that's exactly what's going on. So, but I had a great weekend, and I just thought I'd have a quick, before we jump into what we're doing today, I thought I'd shout out now to the Swan Valley and the vineyards up in the Swan Valley. It was absolutely fantastic. So what I did was, so there's a picture there that Jaden's popped up. That's the vineyard. I think it's called Bannadoon. I know I've got that wrong, but I will pop a link into the comment section later, so that everybody can see where I went there. And if you have your own comments during the broadcast today, make sure you pop them into Facebook, LinkedIn, or to YouTube, because we can see them live, and I'll get back to you as soon as we see them. Yeah. So yeah, great vineyard there. I actually went up there on Captain Cook Cruises on the Swan Valley, and I think there's an image we've got of the boat that I went. There we go. That's what I went on. So if you get a chance, 2.5 hours from Elizabeth Quay down here in Perth, all the way up to the Swan Valley, 2.5 hours back. A beautiful lunch on the lawn. I think there's a couple of images we've got of the lawn as well. So yeah, it was really brilliant weather, fantastic wine and beer, and they have live music. It was just a wonderful afternoon. But that's not why we're here today. The reason we're here today is that we're actually going to talk about the employment and job market here. So we'll go through our regular numbers section. Then we'll be catching up with Christina Sklavos in our Sydney team, where she'll be talking about what's going on in the permanent market in Sydney. And also, she's got a couple of opportunities she wants to speak to us about. We'll then be having a quick chat to Manda Milling, who's written a blog about Hamilton. Now, that's the musical, because I was a little bit confused when she first mentioned Hamilton to me, but we'll get to that in a second. So we'll have a chat to Manda, and finally we'll cover off the Twitter poll results that we had last week and our new Twitter poll for this week. So right, let's get into it then. So let's start with this week's numbers section. What I thought I'd do this week for the numbers, there's a couple of things I'd like to cover off. Right now, at this time each year, the People to People launch a market review and salary survey, and that's called the P2P post. And as part of that, we do undertake quite a bit of research as to what's going on in the marketplace. We give it exclusively to our clients. So if you are watching, and you may have got a phone call from one of our consultants this week as it launched, and they will deliver you a copy. But what I thought I'd do is just share a couple of snippets from the New South Wales survey that we did. If you just wanted to pop up the first graph there. So this is what organisations in New South Wales specifically expect this year. So the reason why I thought I'd show this is that 17%, 1/8 of businesses that we surveyed, and there were literally thousands of businesses that we surveyed, were suggesting rapid growth in 2021. 60% is steady growth. So if you add those together, we're talking about 3/4 of businesses in New South Wales are expecting growth in 2021, and that is definitely going to transfer into employment growth and job opportunities for job seekers out there. So then with the next graph I wanted to show you quickly is the how would job seekers describe their job search at the moment. So this is basically, are they looking for work? Where are they at in terms of their job search? So you can see the most interesting number here is the first one, which is that they are actively looking or happy to secure work currently. So that was 40% of those who we surveyed. That's down 15%. So that's a big number or a big change in terms of those who are actively looking right now. 27% said that they were passively looking. That's up 9%, but that net number suggests that those who are participating in the job market right now has declined. And what that's transferring to at the moment is a candidate shortage. It's hard to find good people, basically. So definitely they're the results for New South Wales. So if you're recruiting right now in New South Wales, if you're hearing a couple of beeps there, that's Pearl from our Perth office here sending me some messages about temp opportunities that are coming through. So if they come through, I'll certainly mention them on the broadcast as well. The last two numbers that I'd like to share with everybody are some international numbers on basically wage price or wage increases. So last week I mentioned the fact that there aren't many the expectations for wage increases in Australia remain subdued between 1 and 1.5%. So I've also got some numbers from Japan and Australia just to make that comparison today. So if you wanted to pop that up. So the one that we're looking at here is the average or the wage increases in Japan over the last few months, or in 2020, 2020. And you can see that they were having declines in their wages over the last during 2020. And as we come into 2021, we're talking 0.2% increase in salaries and wages month on month in Japan. So basically, the experience in Australia is not unusual. If we quickly go to the next graph for me, Jaden, which is the experience in Australia. And what this graph shows is that, yes, quarter on quarter, and the numbers that we've got here are the December quarter numbers. And the interesting thing is that award increases are playing a much lower part in terms of increases in the Australian market right now. So enterprise agreements, individual agreements and awards all total just 0.5% for the December quarter 2020. We're on target for another low wage increase in 2021, expecting between 1 and 1.5 for salaries and wages increases. Right, so that's it for the numbers this week. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a seat. But whilst we do that, I think we have a video from Steph Poulos in our Sydney office. She's got an EA position. She's got we've just had a comment there come up. We'll get to that in a second. But Steph has got an EA position that she'd like to share with us. So Jaden, if you could pop that up whilst I take a seat.
Hi everyone, I wanted to tell you about an opportunity that I'm recruiting for at the moment with a well-regarded and award-winning membership organisation. This organisation is known for its industry knowledge, expert advice and member advocacy. For their employees, they focus on career development and employee engagement, as well as offer work-from-home arrangements. This role will be supporting the Chief Digital Officer and the management team. You will be responsible for finance admin and related matters, human resources admin, scheduling and diary management, drafting minutes from meetings and follow-up actions, organising meetings and events, assisting with the coordination of activities associated with relevant projects and preparation of correspondence, presentation and reports. To be successful, you must have previous experience within a similar position, particularly in finance and operations, excellent time management and organisational skills, and the ability to work flexibly with a team to achieve deadlines is important as well. Additionally, experience with Technology One and demonstrable experience managing upwards is advantageous. For more information or for a confidential discussion, my direct line is 02 8270 9763.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Chris, how are you?
Hello. Not too bad.
I'm sitting here in the. Can you see I'm sitting in the kitchen here in Perth? Like it's very noisy over on the desk. Everyone's recruiting at the moment. There's jobs coming in all over the place. So I thought I better take a seat here. So we are in the kitchen of the P2P Perth office. But how are you?
I'm good. We are, as I said, we're missing you here in Sydney. It's been a couple of weeks, so we have your desk ready and awaiting. It's a bit of a better position. Now you've got beautiful city views where you sit here in Sydney, so hopefully they come back soon.
Excellent. All right. So, well, what's happening in the market? So I've been away for 3 weeks. So how would you describe the Sydney market right now?
Look, I am going to use the word busy, which is probably a word that everybody seems to be hearing now, but it's true. So we are definitely experiencing the result of high confidence in the market. So, and I think a positive trend that we've experienced, I would probably say only in the last week, is that there is a slight increase in the confidence of candidates to be moving and I guess exploring other career opportunities. So we've just had success in placing 2 opportunities this week within the executive assistant space, and those roles both came about because the incumbents moved on for a different opportunity. So it's nice to see that confidence back in Sydney.
Yeah, so people are willing to take a chance. Whoops, excuse me. My camera's moving. So people are willing to take a chance and move opportunities, yeah, which is great. And Steph's position too. So that was an EA role as well that we've just seen as well. So it's good. So and you've got a specific vacancy that you'd like to talk to us about as well?
I have a role that I'm actually genuinely really excited about taking to the market. So it's something a little bit different. It's an office and an operations.
For some reason I lost you there. Sorry, Chris. Yeah, you were back. I'm sorry.
Okay,
it's technology
no
in the kitchen. Yep.
That's okay. I'll tell you a little bit about this role. So it's an opportunity that is quite unique. So it's working with a business that actually was started by 3 university students at the time, 10 years ago. So the business has since, experienced organic growth. So there's now 80 staff working across 2 sites here in New South Wales. The business itself is an education provider, but they specifically provide online and classroom lessons to, I guess, ambitious and bright HSC level students. So the role that I'm recruiting is an office and operations role. It's a newly created role reporting directly into the CEO. And we're specifically looking for people that have come from, of course, an operations background with a commercial exposure. So you'll be accountable for all things operations, so including staff management, roster allocation, timetable creation. There's definitely some stock management and ordering involved as well. And also you'd be responsible for creating and amending policies and procedures. So essentially ensuring business excellence. And the reason that this role has been created because the CEO is now focused on the strategic growth of the business. So I guess a positive and a benefit of joining this company is that they unexpectedly experienced great growth and strong performance over the past 12 months because they were able to quickly adapt to online learning for their students.
I just wanted to up with you as well because I was like, oh my god, I was told 8:30 till 4 and now let's talk about 5 till 8 or evenings. I just wanted to just to clear that up.
Yeah, no, it's me. It's my. We're having some terrible technical difficulties. Things today.
Okay. Perhaps what I'll say is, if you are interested, we are going to post a link to the advertisement in the comments. Please feel free to call me directly. My number is 82709747, and I'd love to tell you more about the benefits of working with this organisation in this unique role.
Did you mention the salary, or is that negotiable?
I mentioned it. It's 115,000, including superannuation. There are some awesome benefits. So you get to enjoy flexibility in both hours as well as location. So there's absolutely opportunity to work from home. We are looking for a self-starter though, because the CEO is actually based interstate. So you'll be working with someone remotely. So that quality of being quite a self-starter and holding yourself accountable is absolutely going to be looked upon favourably.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, my apologies for the problems I'm having here with the.
Hopefully it'll entice me to come back to Sydney, Mark.
Yeah. I'm on the plane tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be back very soon. All right. Okay. Well, thanks, Chris. Great to see you on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn on Friday. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Now let's move on then, and let's have a quick chat to look at this. We've got anybody want a cup of tea? Wow. Let's have a quick chat to Manda Milling, who's going to talk to me about your blog about Hamilton. Now, I'm just going to preface before we get started, Manda. I'm going to tell everybody about that situation where you were talking about Hamilton, and I actually thought
this is what I have to put up with, people.
I thought it was, that everyone's talking about, did you get tickets to Hamilton or whatever? I'm thinking, tickets to Hamilton? What? I think, what are all the flights booked out to Hamilton Island? No, I had absolutely no idea that it is actually a musical. So my apologies about that. But how have you managed to turn a musical about slavery in America into a blog post?
Well, it's not quite about slavery. It's about the founding fathers. But look, I love a good segue. I'd love a good segue. And look, just on the Hamilton, well, look, it's a worldwide phenomenon. And I think what I was excited about was it was the weekend that was premiering here in Sydney, and it was the only stage in the world where it was being performed. I only heard this morning that Broadway's looking at reopening, but that's not till September. But everything's been shut down. So it was quite a coup to have it here in Sydney. And it's last I heard they'd sold about 250,000 tickets. It's probably doubled that by now. And no, I haven't seen it yet. It's waiting till July. But look, so look, I was pretty excited about Hamilton. And like anything, you sort of hear all the hype and you think, oh, gosh, is it really? So I thought, well, I'm going to, as Greg Savage always says, so I always dive pretty deeply into things. So I've got the 700-page biography that Lin-Manuel Miranda based his musical. But I think what I thought was that this thing really changed concept of musicals. And look, every so often, I mean, the word disrupt is really overused, I understand, but every so often someone just comes and changes everything, just turns everything upside down. And this young man, Lin-Manuel Miranda, put together, based on one of the founding fathers, the first Treasury Secretary of the United States, Alexander Hamilton, because he died very young at the age of 49, has sort of been swept into history. And even though he's on the $10 note, the United States $10 note, not a lot of people know a great deal about him. So anyway, this Pulitzer Prize-winning author, Ron Chernow, wrote a fabulous biography of him. And on his honeymoon, Lin-Manuel Miranda's reading this and comes up with thinking this would be a great idea for a musical. So and there it all went from there. And I'm a bit addicted to the soundtrack. But anyway, so I thought to myself, well, in this past 12 months, we've all been disrupted well beyond out of our comfort zones. And I thought, well, that's what Hamilton did. Hamilton really took a lot of people out of their comfort zone. It's got about 10 different types of music in it, completely diverse cast. So, all the roles aren't played by white actors, and gave a lot of unknowns an enormous boost in their careers. And you think, where have these people been? And so that's what's happened with us. And those of us that work in offices particularly, because we were the ones disrupted. Factory workers, not quite as much, but we were. And so we all had to abandon offices and the way we normally work. And for those of us that have been around the traps like me for a while, it was thinking, now I'm at home, I've got to be set up. How do I work around that? And so you weren't alone, and everyone, now that we're now starting to go back into our offices, it's changed. And even where we work, it's changed. And some people aren't going to come back to the office full time. And they're mixing their work from home with their in-office work. I mean, many years ago, it was always those who put the most hours at the desk were considered the most productive. And of course, that changed. It was all outcome produced. So people that were in the office for 12 hours a day, you're saying, what are you doing? Or do you need more support, or you're not coping? You shouldn't have to be in the office 12 hours a day. Obviously, technology has assisted us being able to do this quite evidently. But so I just thought, well, I could segue from what Lin-Manuel Miranda did with Hamilton. I also might add, I'd really like to think this new world of work, we will be as successful as Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, the
Wow.
man never has to work another day in his life, but he's still creating and producing, which is fantastic, and which we can all enjoy. So that's how I sort of put it all together.
Great. I can see that with the blog is already in the comments here. So Jaden's already got it there. So which is Hamilton and the new world of work, not Hamilton Island. Hamilton the
No,
musical.
that's probably an established form of vacation, but no, this is about Hamilton the musical, Alexander Hamilton.
Now I've asked it. Now it was clearly a Dorothy Dixer question, Amanda, because my father put it up.
Thank
right
you, Bruce.
when I was speaking. So Bruce, I can see. Thanks, Dad, for writing a comment for today. So I did send him a message for those watching. That
Yeah, we'll
that
exploit anyone on this Facebook Live.
Yeah, that's exactly. So, and Bruce, not surprisingly, Amanda has asked, are most employees happy to return to the office, or do they prefer to work from home?
Well, it's a bit mixed. It's interesting. It's becoming very much individual flexibility arrangements is exactly what it is. So those that are very new to a business that needs to be trained, it's very difficult to train someone remotely. Those that are more established or a bit more long on the tooth, that have got the experience under their belt. And the other thing that we've found is that people that work, that live a long way away from the office where they're based, are finding that commute time can be a waste of time. And so they may work at home for a period of time and then work in the office and they nominate it. And so we've actually embodied it in people's contracts so that we know where people are and they know what the expectation is. So it's a really mixed bag. But I think certainly when you're offering Office of Employment to people, this has really become part of the vernacular, part of the whole conversation of the benefits. You heard Christina just mention there's flexibility in the role. A lot of people are looking for that. Now, on the other side of it, the employers are saying, well, okay, we want then an outcome. We want this to be productive, and your key performance indicators need to be met. And so there's the other side of it there. So if people are actually meeting their obligations and KPIs or whatnot, I think because we were all forced into this situation last year, if you like, it's been seen that it can work based on all the technology and what you actually do. Look, nothing will replace face-to-face. Nothing. I mean, we're still human beings. Recruitment still will require human interaction. But you can actually include a few of outside this box types of working arrangements as well.
It's pretty clear, though, from the surveys that we've done in the P2P post that for job seekers, flexibility is no longer perceived as a benefit as such, as rather this is normal.
It's a tool of trade. It's a bit like when mobiles and laptops they were seen as this fabulous extra, and now it's a tool of trade. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think if there are employers who are watching who think, well, no, I want everybody back in the office, etc., then that's fine. There's no problem with that. But you should understand that it may mean that you are ruling out some talent that would be great for your business simply because they do expect flexibility. The other interesting thing from the P2P post around this topic is that everybody wants to work, and this sort of answers your question. Which makes me feel weird saying "Dad" on this thing, Bruce. Yeah, but it is that people want a combination. They don't want to be solely at home. They are happy to come back to the office, but they also want some flexibility about being able to work from home and getting the rewards that bring that as well. Well, thank you, Amanda. If only you could bring a musical called Hamilton into a discussion around returning to the office. So
there's a few little hyperlinks in there back to YouTube, so you can actually listen to a bit of the music as well. And I was actually listening to the soundtrack as I wrote that too.
There you go. So if you, it's a good read. Check it out. The links are in the comments there. Thanks, Manda.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Eva.
I'll see you back in Sydney. In Sydney next week.
Good to see you.
Right. Okay. So that brings us to the end of today's broadcast. We're a little bit over time, but let's quickly review the Twitter poll results from last week. So let's have a quick look at those. If you wanted to pop those up for me, there we go. So, are you considering a business trip to New Zealand? Well, 80% said no, but interestingly, 9% did say yes for sure, and I'll be one of those. And it does actually flow the similar results that we did for our frog business in New Zealand. That people, although the travel bubble exists, planes have been stopped for the next 3 days anyway from Sydney. But it hasn't really meant that individuals are quickly jumping on the plane to go to New Zealand for business purposes. So that's quite interesting. 631 votes. So it is got to consider the audience. 630 people on Twitter, but only 9% or 8.9% are considering going to New Zealand for business. So what about this week? So this week's poll, we thought, I've been drinking a lot of coffee recently. And so Remy, who's the marketing manager here at People to People and Frog, and I were chatting about this morning. We thought, no, there's got to be something in the what coffee personality are you in the office? So let's bring up this next week's poll, and it's a bit of fun. So what kind of office personality are you? Are you a long black? That's resilient. Are you a cappuccino where you're creative? Or are you a green tea team player? That's somebody a little bit out on the edge or not on the list, and we can pop a comment in there. Anyway, so that Twitter poll is running now. It'll run for the next week, and we'll give you the results next week. Rightio. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. Apologies again for a little bit of the technical difficulties that I experienced here. There is just one thing. There is an operations coordinator role that we're working on here, which is the pings that you heard earlier. That's Pearl from the office here. It is very busy in Perth. We are looking for a temporary operations coordinator for a 6-month contract here in Perth. You've got to have zero experience. You've got to have the ability to work autonomously. It's a small team of only around 12 people. But I think the ideal candidate is somebody who's worked from a not-for-profit environment, who's been in that operations coordinator role, who has some exposure to zero. Anyway, if you want to learn more, I will make sure we get a link to that particular job into the comments, and Pearl from the office here in Perth will have more of the details if you want to learn more about that. But thanks again for joining us today. We'll be back 12:30 Australian Eastern Time next week with another employment market update. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Can you send